Whether it's getting to the ball, the finish line, or the opponent quickly, the athlete that gets there first will have the most success. Simply put, speed is the difference maker. Athletes competing in sports that involve cutting, starting and stopping, and changing direction must understand the importance of improving lateral speed and agility. Even athletes competing in linear sports, such as track athletes, must work lateral speed. This type of training improves coordination and strengthens the lateral muscles, increasing efficiency and stability to prevent wasted energy when running at full speed, which can often be the difference between winning and losing. Maybe even more importantly, lateral agility training reduces the rate of injury by helping create a more complete athlete. While training for the primary lateral sports, like football, soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse, too much emphasis has been put on straight-ahead speed and conditioning, and not enough on lateral movements. These athletes can run under 8 minutes for a mile and a half and post fast times in 300-yard shuttle runs, but this type of training isn't getting their bodies ready to make the quick changes in direction required for success in those sports. As a result, there has been a significant increase in the number of non-contact injuries, such as the dreaded ACL tear, especially at the high school level, and has become an epidemic among female athletes. That being said, we must train all elements of speed, such as foot speed, body awareness, reaction time, lateral movement, change of direction, and acceleration to become a more agile and superior overall athlete. An athlete's ability to react and respond to certain situations as quickly and efficiently as possible is crucial to overall success, not only to that individual athlete, but to the team as well. We have seen athletes trying to work out on their own with chutes and pulleys, rubber bands and vests, and all other training tools. Most of the time, they're either not using them correctly or give up on using them altogether after a couple of weeks due to unnecessary complexity. We're not saying this type of equipment is not useful at times, but there are easier ways to achieve significant results. Reliance on these devices is not necessary when most athletes have not reached a level of training that requires additional supports. Therefore, we've compiled drills that have maximized the performances of our athletes and kept the amount of equipment necessary to a minimum. Use these drills to continue to work hard, train smart, and stay a step ahead of your competition. Beyond the change in direction, one-foot runs are the most basic of the agility ladder drills. Each foot is going to be placed in one rung, and you'll progress through the entire ladder alternating feet. Finish each agility ladder drill by sprinting forward for 5 to 10 meters. With 2-foot runs, place both feet in each rung of the ladder. Breakdowns are a combination of the first two exercises. In this drill, you'll start off alternating feet, and on the third rung, you'll break down by putting both feet in each rung. An internal cue that we have athletes use in this exercise is 1, 2, break down. 1, 2, break down. 1, 2, break down. 1, 2, break down. With break runs, for the first half of the ladder you'll be alternating, stepping in every other rung, and the second half of the ladder you'll break down, putting both feet in each rung. The important thing to remember when doing the icky shuffle is that the inside leg never exits the ladder. So the internal cue for this drill is in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Repeat that all the way through in your mind as you go through this drill. The first variation of the icky shuffle, the icky shuffle plus 1, is just the opposite of the first icky shuffle. This time the inside leg will come out, so you're coming all the way inside the ladder and then going all the way outside of the ladder. So your internal cue for this drill will be in, out, out. In, out, out. In, out, out. In, out, out. All the way through the ladder. With the icky shuffle high knee, again, the inside leg is never going to come all the way outside the ladder, but you're going to come up with that inside leg, do a high knee, and pause. Make sure that you keep the toe dorsiflexed as you do it. So your internal cue for this drill would be in, out, knee. In, out, knee. In, out, knee. In, out, knee. The backwards Icky shuffle definitely takes a big jump up in the amount of coordination required to do it successfully. Athletes have a tough time learning how to do this drill as they first learn how, to both coordinate the movement and move backwards. In and outs are performed just as the name would imply, with both feet stepping inside the ladder and then both feet coming out of the ladder and repeating throughout the entire ladder. Your internal cue for this drill will be in, out, out, in, out, out, in, out, out. Backward in and out is, again, as the name would imply, you're doing the same thing you did in the previous exercise, the forward in and out, except this time you're going to be moving backward, which of course takes a little bit more coordination and a little bit more concentration. With lateral in and outs now, again another variation of the in and out, you'll be moving inside the ladder and outside the ladder with both feet, except you'll be moving laterally instead of in a linear direction. So again, there's not much different here other than moving laterally instead of forward and back. The lateral run is the lateral equivalent of the 2-foot run. In this exercise, while moving laterally, you'll put both feet in each rung as you progress down the ladder. When doing this drill, make sure to keep your hips parallel with the ladder and keep your toes pointed forward. With the lateral wide run, instead of having both feet step inside each rung of the ladder, each foot will only be in one rung. Therefore, you'll never have 2 feet in the same rung of the ladder, forcing you to keep your stance wide. Again, keep your hips parallel to the ladder and keep your toes pointed forward. With the Ali Shuffle, you get your chance to impersonate Muhammad Ali dancing in the ring. In this drill, both feet are going to be in the same rung of the ladder as they come forward. So you won't be moving laterally down the ladder too quickly because each foot has to end up in the same rung of the ladder before you switch to the next rung. Oftentimes it's easier for athletes to think 1, 2, 1, 2 as they go through the ladder in order to coordinate the movement. With the half karaoke, as this athlete moves from left to right, he'll only be stepping over his right leg with his left leg. He'll never be crossing back behind. And this concept takes some coordination. So the internal cue for athletes to get it down is over, down, over, down. With the full karaoke, you will be crossing behind. So make sure that you open up your hips enough to allow the feet to cross over and also to get inside the rungs without kicking the rung or moving it. It's very important that you are conscious of where your foot placement is in order to do this drill correctly. The crossover behind forward is like doing a karaoke, moving forward instead of laterally. The important thing to remember in this drill is that the outside leg will cross back behind the inside leg and not cross over the front. So the cue for this drill is going to be out, out, behind, out, out, behind, out, out, behind, out, out. Or if it's easier for you, can instead of saying behind, you can say in, out, in, out, depending on your coordination. The crossover front backwards will really be a test of your concentration and of your coordination. Here you'll be doing a backwards karaoke where the outside leg will now be crossing over the front of the inside leg. The dead leg A-skip is simply a one-leg A-skip using the ladder to help you increase your body awareness by being able to place your foot in a specific spot continuously and repeatedly. Focus on good form, driving the foot down into the ground, firing your glute and your ham the entire time. With up and backs, you'll be moving up and back perpendicular to the ladder while traveling laterally down the track or surface that you're training on. In this drill, as far as footwork is concerned, the goal is to step up with the right leg, then out, and then back with the left leg. So up past the ladder with the right, back into the ladder with the left. We've found that the best internal cue is simply in, out, in, out, and just to get into the rhythm of knowing which foot to bring forward and back. Once you get used to that rhythm, it's not as complicated as it first seems when you're first starting to learn how to do this drill and get the patterning down correctly. Hybrids are a great way to break up the monotony of continuous agility ladder work. By spreading out two ladders, you can do absolutely any type of exercise. Here this athlete is doing lateral runs from left to right, running around the cone and coming back and going from right to left. But you can really use any exercise at all that we've gone over so far. To add an extra coordination element to this drill, you can call out the exercise that's to be done before the athlete gets to the ladder so that they have to try to think quickly and also coordinate the motions and be aware of their body spacing. This is a great way to increase agility, flexibility, reaction time, all the things that we look at as far as agility training is concerned, change of direction, as well as just plain foot speed and motor skill development. Broken ladder exercises are similar to the hybrid exercises, except this time the ladders will be lined up perpendicular to each other. You can follow the same format as before with either having pre-scripted drills to do, or you can also just ad-lib them and call them out as soon as the athlete gets to the line and is ready to go. Again, working on the same elements of speed and agility that we worked on in the previous drills with the hybrids. Remember, all athletic competitions and games are unscripted to a certain degree, so athletes that can think quick on their feet are going to be the most successful, and doing these broken ladder and hybrid drills can get athletes to be able to move quickly, thinking less and reacting quicker. Another great way to mix up your agility ladder training is to start off in the various positions that we use in our acceleration drills and our acceleration training. In this example, starting in a push-up position and going right into an icky shuffle. Again, these drills can be done with the athlete knowing what drill they're going to pop up and go into, or it can be done on the fly where the athlete gets down into the position that they're going to start in and they're told the drill that they're going to perform right before the exercise actually starts. In this next example, the athlete's going from a sit-up position right into an in and out. These drills are important to do because athletes have to get ready and get used to moving from different positions right into an acceleration or into any situation that requires them to think quickly without losing position offensively or defensively. Another excellent starting and stopping drill that we'll use is a variation of the lateral run, where a coach will call out the direction for the athlete to move in, cutting from left to right and back and forth, while the athlete still has to maintain good footwork by stepping in every other rung of the ladder and not kicking the ladder, moving the ladder, or falling over. Cone drills can be used for a variety. The Big 8 triangle drill is an excellent exercise for accelerating and then breaking down and changing direction. Accelerate to the first cone, drop your hips, drop your center of mass to get around the cone, accelerate to the next cone, run all the way around the cone, accelerate through, completing a triangle. Funnel drill 1 is designed to work on shuffling laterally and then moving into an acceleration. Start in an athletic position, keeping your hips and your shoulders square, shuffle laterally, touch the cone, accelerate to the next cone, and shuffle again. Remember to keep your toes pointed forward and don't let your feet touch or cross as you shuffle. Keep your center of mass low and accelerate. Funnel drill 2 is designed to work on backpedaling and acceleration skills. So start in an athletic position, accelerate hard to the first cone, then backpedal to the next cone, then accelerate hard again. Again, working on the elements and techniques that you learned in the speed video about acceleration mechanics. Be sure to focus on good form and good technique. It's also important to remember in this drill that the feet should stay moving at all times. As you can see from the example in the video, the athlete's feet never stop moving, so it's very important not to backpedal and pause on one leg before accelerating forward, but to chop the feet and continue to keep the feet moving. The focus of funnel drill 3 is to simply work on cutting and change your direction speed. So accelerate to the first cone, drop your hips, drop your center of mass to make it easier to cut and get around the cone. Break down, keep the feet moving, drop the hips, and then again accelerate. With the X factor, we're trying to create an X in the middle of the square pattern. Accelerate to the first cone, make a hard cut, go around the cone, change direction, again accelerate and cut across the middle so you're creating an X. With the square pattern, there's an infinite number of drills you can do. You can just make them up depending on what you want to work on. If the goal of your session is to work on lateral movement or backwards running. With the clock drill, we're trying to emphasize moving in multiple directions but keeping our head forward at all times. So start moving at 12 o'clock and accelerate or shuffle to the direction of the clock that you're supposed to go to next, all the while keeping your head forward. When going to the corners, you're going to use a cross step, but for all other directions, keep the hips square, stay in a good athletic position, keep your head forward. The transition drill is a series of side shuffles into an acceleration sprint. When doing this drill, be sure to keep your hips square, lower your center mass as you change directions, and always try to keep your feet moving forward and keep your feet pointed forward, especially when you're shuffling. The bow tie is an excellent starting and stopping drill with an emphasis on acceleration. The goal here is to accelerate to the first cone, break down, go around it, and then accelerate again. So as soon as the athlete begins to gain some momentum, they're forced to slow down, change direction, and re-accelerate. It's a great drill for all athletes in sports that involve a great deal of starting and stopping and acceleration work as well. With the T drill, the athlete will start in the middle of the T, backpedal to the first cone, accelerate forward, shuffle to the cone, touch it, then again shuffle back the other way, return to the center of the T, turn around and accelerate to the backward cone. But again, since we're working on acceleration, backpedaling, and lateral shuffling, focus on keeping good form, keeping the hips and the shoulders square, maintaining an excellent athletic position. Try not to cross the feet as you shuffle, and always maintain proper form. In this variation of the T drill, the athlete will go off a visual cue. As they approach the coach will point in a direction, and that's the direction that they will go. In this next variation, the athlete will be given a verbal command only and be required to perform the same drill, working on the same elements. Finally, the athlete will be given both a verbal and a visual command in which they'll be instructed to follow one or the other before the drill begins. This way, athletes can work on decreasing their reaction time when confronted with situations where they're being given conflicting information. We often use the big T drill with football players, especially linebackers, where they're in a position to be watching the quarterback. The athlete will break back into coverage, come up and make the play, and then shuffle back to their original starting position, all the while keeping their eyes on the quarterback or keeping their eyes forward. The double T drill is an excellent exercise to use at the beginning of the season for conditioning purposes where you can get multiple reps in, especially because this drill takes a little bit longer to complete than most of the exercises. Keeping the hips low, maintaining good body position, keeping the hips and the shoulders square, the feet forward and not crossing the feet as you move and change direction. The 5-10-5 drill is one that we'll often use with our athletes, especially because they often see it in the combine. The goal of this drill is to reduce wasted motion by always facing forward. So from this view, the athlete's first cut will be off his left leg so he can maintain a forward direction. As he cuts and goes in the other direction, he'll cut on his right leg because he's still facing forward. The Y drill is a useful drill for creating defensive patterns. The athlete will backpedal, then at a verbal or visual command, they'll cut using a cross step, accelerate to the cone, and then as soon as they get to the cone, they'll cut up again, accelerating again in a linear direction. The latter drill is a great drill for assessing foot speed and change of direction. It really gives you an opportunity to see if an athlete can handle that change in direction from acceleration to backpedaling. So when doing this drill, from each cone you'll accelerate, then switch to a backpedal, then switch again to an acceleration, focusing on keeping the feet moving at all times. We use a sprint ladder drill primarily for conditioning purposes. These cones are spread 5 meters apart, but you can spread them apart as far as you want depending on what the purposes are of your day. Simply accelerate to the first cone, cut, come back to the original starting position, then again accelerate out to the second cone and back, progressing throughout the course of the entire assortment of cones. When incorporating agility training